Hey home cooks, welcome back to Gregcipes. Today I'm going to show you how to cook one of my favorite cuts of beef, the tri-tip. So I have this piece of tri-tip here that I have let sit out for a little while to help get the temperature closer to room temperature, which is going to help it cook more evenly. And the first thing I'm going to do is trim off some of the silver skin and some of the hard outer fat that you don't need. You just want to take like your sharpest knife that you have and just try to get underneath some of these parts, and just try to avoid cutting off meat, but if you have to cut off a little bit, that's okay. All right, now I'm done. So one important thing to remember about this tri-tip is that, if I remember right, the tri-tip is actually a cut of beef where two muscles meet each other. So it actually has grains of muscle fibers going in two different directions. You can kind of see it here that the fibers on this end kind of go this way, and then the fibers over here go straight this way. And then they meet like here at the tip. And so it's really important to remember that for after it's done cooking, when you're slicing it, you want to slice it against the grain from both grains. So it's a good idea to actually cut the meat in two pieces down where the muscles meet, and then cut them in different directions. Like cut this meat this way and then cut this meat that way. The next thing we're gonna do is make a seasoning rub for our tri-tip. It's gonna consist of 2 parts salt to 1 part black pepper and 1 part garlic powder. Super simple, but it tastes really good. All right, so now we're gonna season the beef. And the first thing we're gonna do is actually cover the beef in Worcestershire sauce, which is going to add a little bit of flavor, but mostly it's gonna help our rub bind to the meat itself. You just wanna kind of dump it all over and rub it around with your hands. So just like a good amount, and just make sure it gets all over the beef. Make sure you get the sides. All right. And now we just liberally sprinkle our rub over the whole thing. It's a big piece of meat, so be generous. And don't forget the sides. Now to prepare our beef for cooking, I've moved it to a regular baking sheet, and I'm going to be using one of these, which is a probe thermometer that you can leave in the beef while it's cooking, and it tells you the temperature. I think one of these is invaluable where you're cooking a large cut of meat like this. You don't have to worry about setting a timer or anything like that, because you can go by the temperature of the beef, which is what is the only real reliable way to tell you when it's cooked to your liking. So you want to just stick this into the thickest part of the beef, deep in there. So just jam it in there. And you can see right now it's reading like, it's right there, like 50 something degrees, 53 degrees, which is the internal temperature of the beef. We're going to take the beef to 135 degrees, which is right at medium rare. And then when we take it out of the oven, it's gonna carry over some heat, and it's gonna get a little bit higher temperature than that, which is kind of how I like it. But if you want it to just hit 135, you'd be better off taking it out of the oven around 130. Putting the tri-tip into my 225 degree oven. The internal temperature of the meat is around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm gonna just give it a flip. The beef has reached an internal temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of the oven. And I'm gonna set the beef aside so I can deglaze the pan with some beef stock. Now I'm going to dump these juices into a bowl for later. And this will be to help with making the jus. All right, so the beef has rested for about 15 minutes, and now I'm going to sear it to give it a crust and make the jus in the pan that I sear it in. This is grapeseed oil, which is a high heat cooking oil. I have the heat on pretty high, so it's gonna give me a nice quick sear. So I'm not trying to cook the inside of the beef anymore. So just wait for that oil to heat up. Okay, here we go. So this should just need like a minute on each side. So now I'm going to take it out of the pan and just put it onto a cutting board and start making the jus by deglazing the pan with the liquids that we put into the baking sheet earlier. I'll turn the heat down a little bit. I'm also going to add in the juices that came out of the steak, or came out of the tri-tip while it was resting after I took it out of the oven. And also a couple drops of Worcestershire sauce for extra flavor. This is going to be a very strongly flavored jus because it has all of the seasonings that were on the outside of the tri-tip basically. So you only need a little bit to put over your slices of beef. And so I'm not trying to make this thick or anything, it's just going to be a loose jus. So this is pretty much done at this point. That's all we have to do. So remember, the first thing we're going to do is actually slice this into two pieces with the opposing grains. So right about here. And we can see the inside. It's a nice pink. Like that, okay. And now we can slice both of these against their respective grains into some nice slices of tri-tip, and they can be any thickness that you want. This looks so good. I'm really happy with how this came out. Sorry. It's always perfect. Always perfect. Alright, the tri-tip is out of the oven. Now all I have to do is give it a taste. I'm going to go ahead and give it a dip into our jus. So first of all, the meat is really tender. The jus and the seasonings add a ton of flavor, and It's just so easy to do, and it comes out perfect every time. And I really hope you make it for yourself and enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe for more Gregcipes.